local all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
First at 6 o'clock, this is video just into our newsroom from West Hartford. New Britain Avenue is closed between South and Woodland Streets because of debris that's in the road there. It's been closed for about 10 hours. We have calls to find out what the debris is and how much longer this area is going to be closed. But it's not far from where the bus station is, if you're familiar with that area. We'll stay on top of that and get you updates. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for checking in with us at Fox 61 and Fox 61 Plus. I'm Erica Arias.
And I'm Tim Lambers. It is cold out there. Now, nearly 2 days after our most recent storm, it is not a great morning to be without power. And Eversource said there are still some scattered power outages, mostly in western Connecticut. At last check, between them and a handful of people at United Illuminating, looking at just under 1,300 customers without power right now. The most affected town is New Canaan.
Our crews spent yesterday in Prospect and Waterbury repairing power lines and clearing a whole lot of debris. You see it right there. We're going to have more on those efforts in just a few minutes for you.
Yeah, but first, though, let's get to meteorologist Rachel Piscatelli. She's got a closer look at just how cold it's going to get, especially when you factor in that wind. Although the wind is dying down.
Yes, it's not as bad as yesterday, that's for sure. Take a look at some of these gusts, up towards about 60 miles per hour at Stony Creek, so in the Brantford area. Danbury clocking in at 53 miles per hour. Bridgeport seeing a gust closer to 55. Willimantic up around 60 miles per hour. Wind advisory still remains in effect for Hartford, Tolland, and Windham County. Regardless of where you are, though, it's pretty windy this morning, just not as windy as those numbers. Our current wind speeds, these are sustained upwards of 10 to 20 miles per hour. Looking at our current gusts, a little bit closer to 30 miles per hour in Danbury as well as in Bridgeport. So it is taking a sizable chunk out of what it feels like outside. These are the numbers you want to prepare for, and really throughout the day with our feels like temperatures closer to 0 degrees in some spots, sub-zero from Torrington into Waterbury. It feels like 2 below in New Milford. So for today, gusts remain pretty elevated throughout, gusting closer to about 30 miles per hour in some spots. Mix of sun and clouds, and our numbers only moving up around 20 to 25 degrees. That's about it throughout the day today. So feeling like the single digits at times throughout. Then for tomorrow, it's not as windy. We'll see some sunshine around, temperatures up around 30 degrees. And then for our Thursday, we are watching that storm system, but it does look like it remains to the south of us with temperatures up around 31 in the afternoon and mostly cloudy skies. We'll detail out where we go from here. Your full 7-day forecast coming up in just around 15 minutes. Checking in with the roads this morning here. So as Erica and Tim mentioned, that closure is still out there over in the West Hartford area due to debris out on the roadway. So of course we'll keep you posted. Route 71 New Britain Ave is blocked this morning between South Street and Woodland Lawn in both directions. So be mindful of that. Otherwise, our interstates this morning don't look all that bad with light volume in Middletown on 91, both directions there. Watch out for black ice. Those sneaky areas are still out there this morning as there was little to no melting happening yesterday. Over to you.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Our top story here at 6 o'clock. Somehow, everybody who was on board a passenger jet survived after that plane flipped onto its roof while landing. This happened yesterday afternoon at Toronto's Pearson Airport. The airport said 18 of the 80 people who were on board were hurt, but they all had no more than minor injuries. That plane was coming from Minneapolis. Officials say they still don't know exactly what led up to the crash, but there was blowing snow and gusty winds at the time.
Airport emergency workers mounted a textbook response, reaching the site within minutes and quickly evacuating the passengers.
Well, the Transportation Safety Board of Canada will lead the investigation into what happened.
Pretty incredible. Only minor injuries there.
Yeah, don't even understand it, but I'm happy.
This is the most recent plane crash in just the past few weeks. So, of course, some people are worried about flying. Fox 61's Kaylee Collins is live at Bradley International Airport this morning. Kaylee, I know you're talking to folks as they're coming in, getting in line for security. How are travelers feeling this morning?
Well, naturally, we have heard some chatter from passengers this morning here at Bradley that there is a little bit of anxiety about hopping on a plane following these recent crashes. Although you can tell behind me there's a pretty sizable crowd here. People aren't letting it stop them from getting on their flights here this morning. Now, as we know, this is the 4th major aviation accident in recent weeks here in North America. And although this Toronto crash was not deadly, thankfully, we know that some of the other crashes recently, unfortunately, were. That includes the one in Washington, D.C., where 67 people died when a plane and an Army helicopter collided near Reagan National Airport. That happened on January 29th. 2 days later, a medical transportation plane crashed in Philadelphia, and all 6 people on board died, along with 1 person on the ground. And then on February 6th, 10 people were killed in a plane crash in Alaska. Now, these incidents have some criticizing the FAA and others just worried about the safety of flying. Still, Sue Hoban from Canton says the fear isn't going to stop her from getting on a plane.
I am concerned about the overall safety because of political changes and the TSA, et cetera. But I'm a traveler. I've been to 26 countries in the last 10 years, so I'm not going to let any of that stop me.
Now, even with this recent plane crash, flying remains the safest mode of transportation. The National Safety Council estimates that Americans have a 1 in 93 chance of dying in a motor vehicle crash, while deaths on airplanes are too rare to calculate the odds. And data from the U.S. Department of Transportation also backs that up. We know that we all get in our cars to go to where we need to go every single day. Flying remains the safest mode of transportation. We have reached out to the Connecticut Airport Authority this morning for comment on these recent crashes as well. We'll let you know if and when we hear back. Reporting live from Bradley International Airport, Kaylee Collins, Fox 61.
Kaylee, thanks so much. Well, developing in West Hartford, police say gunshots were fired near Park Road and Troy Street. Officers got the call at about 12:41 yesterday morning. Police say a vehicle was damaged, but no one was inside of it at the time, so no one was hurt. If you have any information on what happened, call West Hartford Police.
Okay, back to the power outages. As of this morning, looking at about 1,300 Eversource and United illuminating customers without power. The map shows you there's no big problem spots, but it looks like the western part of the state right now is the most affected. New Canaan is the single town that has the most outages right now. Big improvement from over the weekend. Remember, at one point, there were more than 100,000 customers without power. That being said, Eversource is still working to get everybody back on board here. And Fox 61's Kay Pattyfoot went along with an Eversource crew here in Prospect as they were working to restore power. And by the way, they've done a pretty good job because at last check, only 7 customers in Prospect still don't have power.
Crews have been working nonstop since last Saturday to get power restored in homes across the state. Eversource crew members tell me the cold weather has made this challenging. If you thought restoring power was as easy as turning a switch on, it's not. Ron DeSoniers, a chief lineman with Eversource, has worked with the company for 27 years. He says one of the many things that make the job challenging, cold weather.
That's the thing that slows everything down is your footing, and if you got to climb over trees, and if you're working on terrain.
The first thing crews do when they get to a site, examine what's around them.
Step 1 is, assess the scene, make sure everything's safe. As a crew, just walk around together and discuss a plan of attack on what you're going to do next.
Ron tells me this tree right here is causing a big problem. He says it made the pole snap, and this is the first thing they have to tackle before working to restore the power.
Well, I was out here earlier today, and I didn't want the tree moved because you see how the pole's hanging out by a thread. So what we're going to do is we're going to secure the pole with a digger first, and then, once we secure it, we'll probably either have them move the tree or we're going to transfer our primary first. We're not sure. We'll discuss it as a group and see what we're going to do. But that tree doesn't get moved.
And he says it's a good thing the property owner didn't try and move it on their own. Otherwise,
then there'd be a lot more people out of power.
Eversource spokesperson Sarah Paduano said crews are seeing more trees down due to the ice.
Any trees that have been weakened by the ice from the storm over the weekend, with the strong winds that we're seeing today, they're even weaker. So they're more susceptible to falling onto power lines and electric equipment, which leads to additional outages.
And when it's all over, DeSonier says he's happy to help.
It's nice when you get a thank you. Or I had a woman in Middlebury drive by today and said, "Oh, we appreciate you," and that's always nice.
Utility companies remind people to treat down power lines as if they are live. Do not drive over them or walk over them. They also say if you experience a power outage at your home, to make sure you report it and not rely on your neighbor to do so. In Prospect, Kay Pattyfoot, Fox 61.
Okay, thank you for that update there. Well, meantime, at 6:09, some newly released video from the Office of the Inspector General shows the moments a Waterbury police officer was shot in the leg. It happened last Thursday night while police were investigating several armed carjacking attempts.
Now, Fox 61's Brent Harden shares what the Office of Inspector General says led up to the shooting.
Thursday, February 13th, 8:30 p.m. Waterbury police get a call for an attempted carjacking on Waterville Street. The caller reports 3 masked men with a gun tried to steal their car, but the person was able to drive away. The caller told police the masked men were in a white Ford SUV. 20 minutes later, police get a second complaint of an attempted carjacking, this time on Chase Avenue. The caller told police the suspects were driving a white Ford Explorer and took his keys at gunpoint. The next report was of 3 people trying to break into a vehicle on America Street. When Sergeant Stephen Martin and Detective Ronald Sackett got there, they spotted a white Ford Explorer. A neighbor told police 3 people ran toward a home on Claremont Avenue. You can see from this Ring camera video released by investigators, 2 people run alongside the house. One of them escapes and one stays behind. The Office of Inspector General says that's Arian Perez Feliciano, armed with a gun, equipped with a laser. You can see the gunman get into a shooting stance before he fires and runs away. Here's another angle from Detective Sackett's body cam. As he turns the corner to the back of the house, investigators say he comes face to face with Perez Feliciano before he is shot and officers return fire.
I'm here!
Now, the report also says that Perez Feliciano shot Detective Sackett through his upper leg. Perez Feliciano was not hurt. He's charged with attempted murder, assault on a police officer, as well as other charges. Now, the other 2 suspects, 18-year-old Sidney Reed and 19-year-old Alberto Rodriguez, well, they are facing several robbery and weapons charges. Detective Sackett was released from the hospital on Friday, and he is recovering. The investigation is ongoing, so of course we'll update you when we get that final report.